this video, I'll go over what inheritance is in Java. Let's say you're developing a simple fighting game where two players attack each other. In our game, we have a player class, which has various attributes such as strength and health, and various methods such as attack and defend. In our simple example, we have two players which we call Bob and Steve. Both of them are of type player and have slightly different attributes. When we run this class, we see that Bob is attacking Steve and Steve is at 85 health. Now this is good, but let's try to make the game a little bit more interesting. Let's give our users the ability to be different types of players. Let's give them the option of being an elf, warrior, or wizard. Even though these are different player types, they are more or less the same as your player class with some minor tweaks, which may include different attributes such as strength and magic. Now you really don't want to write the same code over and over again for each different player type, so what can you do? This is where the power of inheritance comes in handy. As the name implies, it allows one class to inherit variables and methods from another class. This is done by simply writing extends after the class name, and then followed by the class you'd like to inherit from. So our warrior class is extending the player class. With the exception of having to write a constructor, you now have all the same info as the class you're inheriting from. This is great because it allows code to be reused and also makes it easier to maintain the code since almost all of it is located in one class. In this case, all of our code is located in the player class. In Java, the class you're inheriting from is known as the superclass, so in our case that would be the player. And the inheriting class is known as a subclass. In this case, this would be warrior. So we can say that warrior is a subclass of the player class, and the player class is a superclass of the warrior class. So I've gone ahead and done the same thing for elf and wizard. As you can see, I'm passing in slightly different attributes to the constructor. You may have noticed a method called super in the constructor of all the subclasses. What super does is invoke the constructor of the superclass. If you defined a non-empty constructor, basically a constructor that takes arguments, then all the subclasses are required to have a constructor that invokes the superclass's constructor. Now let's modify our fighting game to use these new classes. That's all the changes we need to make to start using our new player types. Now let's run the game. As you can see, it now says a warrior is attacking a wizard, and wizard is now at 95% health. As you may have noticed, we were able to pass in wizard and warrior into a method that takes two arguments of type player. This works because Java is smart enough to figure out that both wizard and warrior are subclasses of the player class, and thus they will have all the same methods and can be safely used whenever the player class is used. Treating one type of object as another type is known as casting. When this is done automatically without telling Java to do so, this is known as implicit casting. If we were to try and treat a player as a warrior, we know that this does not always hold true, as it can also be a wizard or an elf. So if we try to create a new warrior based on the defender. We can see that Java gives us a compiler error. In this case, we would need to do an explicit cast, where we would need to explicitly tell Java to treat the player as a warrior. This is done by simply putting parentheses around the type you wish to use in front of the target object. So in this case, we're trying to cast the defender as a warrior. As you may have guessed, this can be dangerous and should only really be used out of necessity, and you're 100% certain that it will always be the type you wish to use. If you try to cast to the wrong type, you will get a class cast exception, which we'll see in this case if we try to run the class again. So as you can see, we get a class cast exception because we're actually trying to cast a wizard as a type of warrior. A fun fact is that every single class in Java will extend one class. All classes in Java automatically extend the object class, even if they don't explicitly use extend, like our player. This class has very generic methods that are available to all Java classes. That includes methods such as toString. You can kind of think of Java's class hierarchy as a giant tree, where the objects class sits at the very top. Typically, classes near the top of the tree have very generic behavior, like our player class, and classes near the bottom of the tree have more specialized behavior, like our warrior class. In Java, a class can only extend one class, while a superclass can have an infinite amount of subclasses. This is great for us because it allows us to add as many player types as we want, and we don't have to rewrite a bunch of code every time we do. So this marks the end of this video, and in the next video I'll show you a related topic known as polymorphism, which allows your subclasses to take on a unique identity while still inheriting everything they need. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, leave a comment below. If you found this helpful, please feel free to like and or subscribe, and I hope to have another video for you shortly. Thanks.